Consistency is not a choice. It is the weapon that separates the dreamers from the doers. Every day you hesitate is a day your future self will regret. Talent fades, motivation dies, but consistent action, that lasts forever. If you want extraordinary results, you must force yourself to act even when it's hard, even when it hurts. Talent is often celebrated, admired, and envied. We see people with natural abilities, people who seem excel effortlessly, and it's easy to believe that talent alone is the key to success. But the reality is far from that. Talent without consistency is like a car with a powerful engine but no fuel. It might look impressive, but it won't take you anywhere. The truth is that consistent action trumps talent every single time. It is not the person who has the most natural skill who wins in the long run. It is the person who shows up day after day, who does the work even when no one is watching, who refuses to quit when obstacles appear. Talent can give someone a head start, but consistency is what carries them across the finish line. Consider this: the world is full of talented people who never reach their potential. They had the gifts, the intelligence, or the abilities, yet they never achieved the success they dreamed of. Why? Because talent alone is passive. It requires cultivation, practice, and repeated effort to become valuable. On the other hand, someone who may not have the same level of natural ability, but who is willing to put in the work consistently, eventually surpasses the talented individual who waits for inspiration or only acts sporadically. Consistency builds skill, knowledge, and momentum. Every day that you show up, every time you take intentional action, you are investing in your future self. These daily deposits, even small ones, accumulate into a life of results that talent alone could never produce. Think about a musician. A person may have a natural ear for music, but without regular practice, without showing up to learn scales, without putting in the hours to master their craft, that talent remains dormant. Meanwhile, someone with less natural ability, but who practices diligently, consistently, and persistently, will eventually play at a level far beyond the naturally talented individual who is inconsistent. The difference is not magic, it is the compounding effect of repeated action. Skill grows, confidence grows, opportunities appear, and the consistent person becomes unstoppable. This principle applies to every area of life. In business, in fitness, in relationships, in learning. The people who achieve extraordinary results are not necessarily the most gifted. They are the ones who refuse to quit. They do what others avoid. They act when others procrastinate. They persist when others give up. Talent may open doors, but consistency walks through them and builds something lasting on the other side. Every task done repeatedly, every habit maintained, every effort made consistently. These are the bricks of success. Without them, talent is wasted potential, a promise unfulfilled. Consistency also teaches resilience and discipline. Talent may give you confidence at the start, but the real test comes when challenges arise. When results don't appear immediately, when frustration sets in. At that point, only those who have trained themselves to show up consistently will persevere. They are the ones who push past doubt, who embrace discomfort, who understand that the work itself, day after day, shapes results. Talent alone cannot do this because it lacks the structure and persistence needed to endure the ups and downs of real life. Ultimately, consistency multiplies the value of talent. When you combine the two, the results are extraordinary. But even if talent is limited, consistency can carry you farther than most people imagine. It turns ordinary effort into extraordinary outcomes because it leverages time, repetition, and compounding growth. It creates momentum, opens doors, and builds credibility. The takeaway is clear: do not rely on talent alone. Do not wait for inspiration or for natural ability to shine. Force yourself to act, to show up, to persist, and to maintain momentum every single day. Over time, you will discover that consistent action is far more powerful than talent ever could be, and it is the foundation of all long-term success. Discipline is one of the most misunderstood concepts in life. Many people think discipline is something that comes naturally, like motivation or inspiration. They believe that the successful are somehow born with an innate ability to do what needs to be done, to resist temptation, and to stay on track. But the truth is that discipline is not something you hope for, it is something you enforce. It is a conscious decision you make every day, often against your own emotions and desires. Waiting to feel motivated is a trap that will keep you stuck. Motivation is fleeting and feelings are unreliable. If you rely on them, you will only act when circumstances are easy, comfortable, or convenient. Real progress comes when you force yourself to act, even when you do not feel like it. That is the essence of discipline. Most people fail because they underestimate the power of enforced action. They wait for the perfect moment or the right mindset to start. They tell themselves, I'll start tomorrow when I feel ready, or I'll begin next week when I have more energy. But tomorrow rarely comes, and next week is no different from today if nothing changes. The only way to break the cycle is to take action regardless of how you feel. Forcing yourself to act is not punishment, it is preparation. Every time you do what needs to be done despite resistance, you strengthen your willpower and train your mind to accept responsibility. Over time, these enforced actions become habits, and habits shape destiny. Discipline enforces a form of personal empowerment. It separates the doers from the dreamers. It creates a mindset that refuses to accept excuses, setbacks, or delays. When you make a decision to enforce discipline in your life, you remove the uncertainty that comes from relying on feelings or fleeting inspiration. You take control. You create a framework where success is no longer dependent on mood swings, energy levels, or circumstances. Instead, it becomes dependent on a principle: you control action. You force yourself to show up, to push forward, and to maintain momentum. And in doing so, you start to see results that others only dream about. Enforcing discipline also builds confidence. When you consistently act against resistance, you prove to yourself that you are capable. You learn that you can endure discomfort, that you can prioritize long-term goals over short-term pleasure, and that you can achieve things that seemed impossible at first. Each day you force yourself to act, you reinforce the belief that you are in control of your life, not your emotions, not your circumstances. This confidence compounds, and with it comes greater clarity, focus, and determination. People who act only when motivated never experience this compounding effect. They are always at the mercy of their moods and distractions. Another powerful aspect of enforced discipline is its effect on momentum. One enforced action leads to another. Once you commit to showing up consistently, it becomes easier to continue, and the resistance that once felt insurmountable begins to diminish. Action itself becomes a habit, a rhythm that propels you forward. The key is to start small if necessary, but start deliberately. Force yourself to complete one task, to take one step, to practice one skill, even if it is uncomfortable or inconvenient. That single enforced act is the seed from which all future success grows. Ultimately, the world rewards those who take responsibility for themselves. Discipline is not optional if you want to achieve anything significant. It is the bridge between intention and results, between dreams and reality. Waiting for feelings, waiting for inspiration, waiting for the perfect moment is a recipe for mediocrity. By enforcing discipline, by forcing yourself to act, you take control of your future, you develop habits that compound over time, and you create unstoppable momentum. Success becomes a result of your actions, not your mood, and that is the power of discipline enforced. It is often the small, seemingly insignificant actions that determine the largest outcomes in life. Many people look for the big break, the miracle opportunity, or the one-time event that will change everything. But the truth is, the most powerful results are born from repeated small actions. Actions that, when done consistently, compound into extraordinary outcomes. Consistency in these small actions is the engine that drives success, and it is often underestimated. People fail to realize that excellence is not an accident. It is the result of repeated effort over time in a focused and intentional way. The daily habits you create, the routines you follow, and the small steps you take every single day are far more influential than talent or luck. Imagine a person trying to build a business. They may think that one perfect idea, one big launch, or one clever strategy will make them successful. But in reality, it is the daily consistent effort, making calls, sending emails, following up with clients, learning their craft, and improving incrementally that creates momentum and results. Each small action may feel insignificant in isolation, but over weeks, months, and years, those actions accumulate, creating an unstoppable force that propels the person forward. Consistency transforms ordinary effort into extraordinary success because time magnifies repeated action. The key is to commit to the process and trust that the compounding effect will eventually produce results beyond imagination. This principle applies to every area of life. Whether it is improving your health, building wealth, or mastering a skill, small, consistent actions matter more than sporadic bursts of effort. For example, someone who exercises for 20 minutes every day will see far greater results over a year than someone who works out for 2 hours once a week. The same applies to learning. Reading a few pages every day will produce more knowledge than attempting to read an entire book in one sitting once in a while. Life rewards those who respect the power of small, repeated steps because it is the consistency, not intensity, that sustains growth over time. Small actions also reduce the overwhelm that often paralyzes people. When you focus on tiny, manageable steps, you remove the excuses that come with large, intimidating tasks. You create momentum naturally without relying on motivation or bursts of energy. Momentum itself is a powerful force. Once it starts, it makes continued effort easier, more automatic, and more natural. Each repeated action reinforces the habit, and each habit becomes a building block for bigger achievements. This is why it is critical to start with small, consistent steps. Waiting for perfect conditions, waiting for the perfect moment, or waiting for monumental inspiration is a trap that prevents progress. Action, no matter how small, is the antidote. Consistency in small actions also builds confidence. Every time you follow through, even in minor tasks, you prove to yourself that you are capable of discipline and follow through. This builds trust in your own abilities and strengthens the belief that you can achieve bigger goals. Conversely, when you neglect small actions, procrastinate, or rely solely on bursts of effort, you weaken your self-confidence and your potential remains untapped. By valuing the small daily actions and committing to them, you are not just building skill or results, you are building character and resilience, which are the foundations of long-term success. The most successful people are not the ones who act perfectly once or twice. They are the ones who show up consistently day after day without fail. They understand that repeated small actions compound into massive results. This principle of compounding works silently in the background, creating exponential growth over time. Success is not instantaneous, it is gradual, cumulative, and relentless. The sooner you embrace the power of consistent small actions, the faster you move toward your goals, and the harder it becomes for failure to catch up with you. If you want extraordinary results, You must honor the process. You must commit to taking the small steps consistently, trusting that these actions, repeated without exception, will eventually compound into outcomes far greater than you ever imagined. Your mind is your most powerful asset and your most dangerous enemy. It has the ability to propel you to unimaginable heights, but left unchecked, it can also sabotage your progress and keep you trapped in mediocrity. Your emotions, while natural and human, are often unreliable guides. They fluctuate based on circumstances, moods, and external events. If you allow your feelings to dictate your actions, you will start strong on some days and give up on others. The key to achieving greatness is not to eliminate emotions, because that is impossible, but to master them. You must learn to act despite fear, doubt, frustration, or resistance. You must force yourself to show up even when your mind screams, "I don't feel like it today." Mastering your mind and emotions is not optional. It is essential for anyone who wants consistent results. The human mind is wired to seek comfort, avoid pain, and resist change. When you take on challenges, when you step outside of your comfort zone, or when you push toward ambitious goals, your mind naturally creates resistance. It will create excuses, invent reasons to stop, and magnify obstacles. You might feel tired, overwhelmed, or uncertain, and your emotions will try to justify quitting. But this is exactly when you need to act. You must push through the resistance, make disciplined choices, and enforce consistent action. Mastery over your mind and emotions is developed in these moments when the easy choice is to quit, but you choose to persist. Every successful person has faced this internal battle. The difference is not that they were free from fear, doubt, or anxiety. It is that they refused to be controlled by them. They developed strategies to manage their emotions and program their minds for persistence. They learned to respond to challenges with action rather than excuses. Each time you overcome the urge to quit, each time you act despite fear or uncertainty, you strengthen your mental resilience. Over time, acting in alignment with your goals becomes natural, and your mind becomes an ally rather than an obstacle. Mastering your mind also means understanding the power of focus. Your mind is capable of incredible creativity, problem solving, and innovation, but only when directed. Distraction, doubt, and negative self-talk scatter your energy and diminish your potential. By forcing yourself to concentrate on your goals and maintain consistent action, you train your mind to ignore noise, resist negativity, and embrace clarity. Emotional mastery and mental focus work together. When you control your thoughts and regulate your emotions, you unlock the ability to execute consistently even under pressure. It is also important to recognize that emotions are temporary, but action is permanent. Feeling discouraged or fearful does not prevent progress, and action does. Every time you act despite how you feel, you create momentum and produce results. Each small victory over your internal resistance reinforces your ability to overcome future challenges. The more you practice emotional and mental mastery, the easier it becomes to remain consistent, make disciplined choices, and pursue your goals relentlessly. Ultimately, the person who masters their mind and emotions has a distinct advantage. They are not swayed by setbacks, criticism, or temporary discomfort. They understand that success is built not on fleeting feelings, but on repeated, disciplined action. By controlling your mind, regulating your emotions, and refusing to allow resistance to dictate your behavior, you position yourself for exponential growth. Your results will no longer be random. They will be a direct reflection of your consistent effort, strategic thinking, and unyielding commitment to push forward no matter the circumstances. Your mind and emotions are powerful allies when mastered. They can become the driving force that fuels your consistency, discipline, and long-term success. But mastery requires practice, persistence, and a willingness to act when it is uncomfortable. Every time you force yourself to act against resistance, you reinforce this control, and over time, you become unstoppable. Those who fail do not fail because of lack of talent or opportunity. They fail because they allowed their mind and emotions to control their actions. By mastering them, you remove the greatest barrier to consistency and create the foundation for extraordinary achievement. Habits are the invisible architecture of your life. They shape your daily actions, influence your decisions, and ultimately determine the results you achieve. The choices you make consistently, often without conscious thought, build the person you become and the life you live. Every successful individual understands this principle. Your destiny is not shaped by isolated actions or moments of brilliance, but by the habits you cultivate and enforce day after day. Habits are the building blocks of consistency, and consistency is the foundation of achievement. If you want to achieve extraordinary results, you must focus on creating and maintaining powerful, positive habits. Many people underestimate the impact of habits because they seem small and insignificant at first. Brushing your teeth, exercising for a few minutes, making one extra sales call, reading a few pages each day, these actions may appear trivial, yet their cumulative effect over time is profound. Just as a single drop of water can eventually carve a canyon, small habits repeated consistently create extraordinary outcomes. The key is to recognize that the results you desire are not the product of a single effort, but of repeated, disciplined actions that compound over time. The person you want to become is the sum of the habits you enforce today. Habits also provide structure and predictability in an unpredictable world. Life is full of distractions, setbacks, and emotional ups and downs. Relying on motivation alone is a dangerous strategy because feelings are fleeting and inconsistent. Habits, on the other hand, are automatic. They allow you to act even when motivation is low, even when you feel tired or discouraged. Once a habit is established, it becomes a built-in system that drives your behavior in alignment with your goals. This is why successful people prioritize habit formation above almost everything else. They understand that habits remove the reliance on temporary inspiration and replace it with consistent, reliable action. Another powerful aspect of habits is that they shape identity. When you consistently perform actions aligned with your goals, you begin to see yourself differently. You no longer think of yourself as someone who tries or wants to improve. You see yourself as someone who acts, someone who shows up, and someone who delivers. Your identity is reinforced by your repeated behavior. This is why breaking bad habits and establishing good ones is so critical. If you want to become a disciplined, successful, and high-achieving individual, your daily habits must reflect that person. Your actions create your identity, and your identity drives further action. Habits also make consistency easier. Once a behavior becomes habitual, it requires less effort to maintain. You no longer have to rely solely on willpower or motivation. The habit itself becomes the engine that propels you forward. For example, someone who has developed the habit of exercising every morning does not debate whether to work out. They simply do it. Someone who writes consistently every day does not wait for inspiration. They sit down and write. Habits turn effort into automatic action, which allows you to sustain momentum over the long term. Without powerful habits, even the most motivated person will eventually falter. Finally, habits create leverage. They are the multiplier of your effort. By consistently performing positive actions, you create compounding growth in every area of your life. Learning, income, health, relationships, all of these areas are influenced by the habits you enforce consistently. Conversely, negative habits compound in the opposite direction, eroding your potential and limiting your success. The choice is yours: enforce habits that support your goals or allow habits that sabotage your progress to dominate. The bottom line is that habits are not just routines. They are the foundation of your results. By focusing on your daily actions and building habits that align with your long-term vision, you ensure that consistency becomes inevitable. Every action repeated with purpose strengthens the person you are becoming and moves you closer to the life you desire. The power of habits lies in their ability to transform small, consistent actions into extraordinary outcomes over time. Excuses are the silent killers of progress. They appear in subtle forms. I don't have time. I'll start tomorrow. I'm too tired, or I'm waiting for the right moment. Each excuse may seem harmless, but over time they accumulate, forming a wall that separates you from your goals. The difference between those who succeed and those who fail is rarely talent, luck, or opportunity. It is the ability to take action, to move forward consistently, and to refuse to let excuses dictate behavior. Action over excuses is the principle that transforms ordinary people into extraordinary achievers. The human mind naturally searches for reasons not to act. It is designed to conserve energy, avoid risk, and stay comfortable. When faced with challenges, setbacks, or hard work, your mind will create narratives that justify inaction. It will whisper, "You can't do this," or "It's too hard right now." If you listen, you will never reach your potential. The key is to recognize excuses for what they are: illusions that mask fear, doubt, or resistance. The moment you take responsibility for your actions, you break free from the chains of excuses. Enforcing action, regardless of your feelings or circumstances, is how you cultivate discipline, consistency, and results. Action is the antidote to procrastination. Waiting for the perfect conditions is a trap that keeps millions stuck in mediocrity. The truth is, conditions will never be perfect. Opportunities do not always present themselves neatly. Life is messy, unpredictable, and often uncomfortable. Success comes to those who act despite the challenges, those who refuse to allow excuses to delay progress. Each action you take, no matter how small, builds momentum, strengthens confidence, and reinforces the habit of persistence. By prioritizing action over excuses, you create a self-perpetuating cycle of progress that compounds over time. Every goal, every dream, every aspiration requires effort. Excuses are the enemies of effort. They are the lies we tell ourselves to avoid discomfort, responsibility, or hard work, but nothing worth achieving is ever easy. Wealth, health, mastery, and fulfillment demand consistent action. Those who excel are not necessarily more talented or smarter than everyone else. They are simply willing to do what others will not, to act when others hesitate, and to persist when others quit. By refusing to accept excuses, you place yourself in a position of control, taking ownership of your life and outcomes. Excuses also limit your growth. When you blame circumstances, other people, or external factors, you give away your power. You allow forces outside of your control to dictate your life. By taking action, you reclaim that power. You prove to yourself that you are capable of overcoming obstacles, solving problems, and achieving your goals. Each decision to act, each choice to push past resistance builds confidence and strengthens your ability to handle bigger challenges. Over time, the habit of action becomes a natural part of who you are, and excuses lose their grip on your life entirely. Another critical element is urgency. Waiting, hesitating, And rationalizing delay not only stalls your progress, it diminishes opportunities. Life rewards those who act decisively and consistently. The more you act, the more doors open and the more possibilities become visible. Conversely, hesitation and excuses shrink your world, limit your vision, and rob you of momentum. The simple truth is that action breeds results and results breed opportunities. Without action, even the best intentions remain dreams and potential goes unrealized. Ultimately, success is the cumulative effect of consistent, deliberate action. Excuses are the enemy of consistency. They are the reason most people never reach their potential. By refusing to allow excuses to control your life, by choosing action over delay, and by committing to show up every day regardless of how you feel, you create a foundation for extraordinary achievement. Action over excuses is not a slogan, it is a lifestyle. It is the principle that turns ordinary people into unstoppable forces, transforming goals into reality, dreams into accomplishments, and potential into undeniable success. Your future is built on the actions you take today, not the thoughts you think or the feelings you wait for. Force yourself to be consistent and watch as ordinary days transform into extraordinary results. Excuses will fade, resistance will break, and momentum will carry you if you choose action over hesitation. Consistency is the secret, discipline is the bridge, and action is the key that unlocks your unstoppable success.